Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi. Hello. How are you? Good to see you. Well, I can't see you. Thank you for listening and watching. We're back again with another episode. The old European Elite, our Nations United series here on NHL 21. The end of NHL 21, of course, just about. We're less than a month away. Thank God. Only a few weeks, really, from NHL 22. And Lord knows I can't wait to get started on that. But for now, we keep our focus on what is ahead of us here. It was an interesting, I think I'd describe it that way, an interesting offseason where we took some risks during the draft. That is safe to say. We picked up a goaltender and Lukas Dostal that could very well be our starter moving forward. We picked up Ledbedev from the LA Kings on defense that should really shore up this defense now moving forward. Look at how young our top four defenders are at this stage. And obviously, again, Filip Hronek is a factor. We just need that morale to bounce back a little bit. And then, of course, forward-wise, we moved on from the likes of Tomas Hertl, Timo Meier. Was it worth it? I don't know, but we do bring in the likes of Thomas Tatar and Matt Zuccarello, Jake Voracek as well to help fill out the holes left in the bottom six because we took some pretty big swings during the draft. I think that's the best way to describe it as we bring on two other coaches. We're going to have to completely rework the coaching staff because those were the highest rated free agent coaches available, both A-rated. So I'm excited to see now whether or not the coaching staff kind of takes a big step forward as well. You could argue how well our head coach has kind of worked with the team that we've had. And obviously, too, the team keeps changing. So you never really know. It looks like it signs at least one random dude as a free agent. Before anything else, before setting up the team, yes, we have to look to see if there's anybody out there that might be on the block that could help out this team. Goaltending-wise, I can't imagine there would be anybody. Nick Leddy still has a crap ton of trade value. Figure that one out. Teuvo Teravainen, Tom Wilson. Jakub Vrana is actually available again. Not really sure what we could give up to get him back, but it's worth keeping that in mind, I do suppose. And yeah, from there it's not looking too good. Teddy Bluger was also out there. His trade value is through the roof. Yeah, it's not looking too good. To be honest, we'll back out from there. I think we are kind of restricted to the team being what the team is. So Dostal, Parikh as the two goaltenders on the team. Sjogard, Koleta, Seeloffs. That looks perfect. Defensively, Bondra, Dodonov, Seider, Ledbedev. And funny enough, it puts Hronek in the minors. That we can't do. I think Hronek will be the guy. Of course, I did sign Christian Djoos when I wasn't supposed to. We won't use him anyway. He can be a random bit of AHL filler. But that is the team. It's the best our defense has looked. And there was a time where we were very, very uncertain as to whether or not this defense would ever look half decent. And then for the forwards. I mean, it's tough to say what we do from here because it's 10, 11, and 12 with Nosek. You do have Glebov, who you could argue is almost good to go. Is it more beneficial for him to be in the NHL or the AHL? McGinnis is very close. Of course, we have a bunch of those guys that we don't yet have signed. But I'm looking, and the fourth line is going to be more skill-based. It's going to have to be. You know, you look at the team here, and obviously, Pastrnak, Hischier, Semyonov, Stützle, Hedl, Necas, top six, Tatar, Zuccarello, Voracek, potentially the third line. So, Suter, Kampf, Nosek, it makes sense to have a more skillful fourth line, which raises the question of do we sign anybody? And I don't think we do. Now, Oliver Kopets, thankfully, won't be needed this season. And then Damian Hilbert was the one that we took the big swing on. And he's not bad. I don't think we have to sign him, though. I think we can get away with leaving him to just develop on his own. Again, the question then becomes Glebov, and would he be better suited on the fourth line with Kampf, or, over Kampf for Nosek alongside a P.S. Suter, or do we just leave him to tear up the AHL? And I think it's the latter, if we're being honest. So if we look at these lines here, I still have to double check the coaching. It's gonna be a good team, man. It is. Especially with the defensive improvements. We're in the best spot we've ever been in. It's just, are we going to be good enough to win? So this B-rated coach in Thomas is definitely out. I still think Boumedienne is going to be our head coach, though. He's the highest rated coach possible. He might not have the best scheme fit for the team. It was a 58, apparently. Lacroix is a 52. What about Baines? We would need someone who's a ridiculous scheme fit, and Baines isn't that bad, but, it's like Semyonov, Seider, Zuccarello really don't fit in. I would rather have the boost of an A-plus coach than have that little bit of an extra scheme fit. Just the way I choose to develop a team. So Lacroix can be sent down. And then we know Lashoff will be sent up. It's just which one of these 3 A-rated coaches happen to be the best. And the best teaching, just outright, oof. It's either Baines or Siemens. It's a tough call. Power play and special teams would take a hit, but the offense would be better. I think I'd rather have the power play and special teams be a little bit more well-rounded. So I think Siemens is our guy. We will bump up Lashoff. Drop Baines down. Bump up Siemens. And then from here, obviously, more tough choices. Nielsen is definitely going to have to go. We'll bump up Baines, not to be the NHL goalie coach, but the AHL assistant, and now we have to sign 2 goalie coaches. But we do have a damn good coaching staff. I think that's pretty much undeniable. And then from here, the goalie coaches, which again, hopefully these people just sign no problem, but Lubomir Bondra. Hopefully you will accept our offer to be our new goalie coach for the season. And then from there, just double-checking certain ratings. And, we might as well just go with Georges Marchand to be our AHL goalie coach. Pretty straightforward. Pretty simple. So, coaching looks to be good. Scouting is always going to be a bit of a problem. It looks like we have scouts pretty much everywhere. You could argue whether or not we need 4 Russian scouts. WHL scouts definitely got to move. So we'll move Fitzmaurice probably over to Germany. And that'll be our 3rd scout there. We have 2 scouts in the NLA, 2 scouts in Austria. We're going to move one of our Russian scouts to the SHL. And then for the most part, we're good. You could talk about what you think the proper balance might be, but for the most part, we have a decent scouting department. The lowest letter grade you're going to see there is a B-. It is the best this team's looked. But with the new coach in place, what is the best setup we can have for the Lions here? I want to start off with the defense, and that is a very promising sign of a +3 for the top pair. Seider would also fit in well in the top pair. So would the majority of people. But I think we pretty much have our perfect fit there. Ledbedev, Seider, Ronick, Kempney. That's it. That's exactly what we need. You could have an extra +1, but I want Ledbedev and Seider on the same pairing. That looks good to me. And then forward-wise, I still want Hedel in the top 6. Then the bottom 6, we're going to have to figure that out. But Natchez better suited for the top line. Hedel's definitely a second liner. Honestly, I think we just leave this as is. The top line, we don't have perfect fits. But, keep them as the top line. Who cares about an extra +1, So Heischer definitely at center. And then you could argue, hey, face-offs, handedness, proper position, yada, yada. But I think that is the team, at least in terms of the top 6. So the third line, honestly, we got to take a look at who can take draws. And it's between these 3. So Thomas Tatar as a third-line center isn't a horrible idea. You could argue even dropping down Natchez or Hedel to be incredibly strong at center, at least in terms of face-offs. But I think that's pretty much the answer right there, is to just go with that. We know P.S. Suter can do quite well when given more time. He is only 28. You could argue maybe playing him over Voracek or Zuccarello. But, if we had... I'm still tempted to call up the 2 younger guys for Nosek and Kampf. That's the only question. Is would those guys benefit more from being on the third line this year? I think we're going to go for it. We're going to risk this. We're going to be very aggressive when it comes to player development. And we're going to hope that it works out. Didn't mean to go back to edit lines there, but that's okay. Let's go back over to roster moves. So, Nosek and Kampf out. Glebov, Hilbert up. And will this work? Is the question. So a fourth line of Voracek, Zuccarello, Tatar, the veterans all together. Suter will be with Hilbert and Glebov. Damian Hilbert, a pretty good fit for the second line. Suter's a good fit for the third line, as is Glebov. Hedel's good for the second. Stützle's good for the top 6. Natchez good for the top 6. And obviously we wouldn't drop anybody else down. Again, I think that's a winner. I think that's a winner. We go for, of course, like the chemistry, the pluses aren't the best, but Suter, Hilbert, Glebov, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. And then, of course, that fourth line is just completely unfair. But, yeah, the question is, do we trust P.S. Suter, who had 43 points and 20 goals last year, to kind of be able to boost up these 2 younger stars that we can hopefully see develop? Glebov is a power forward as well. In theory, you get a playmaker on that top line, you get a +1. I think that's the way to go. And then again, swap those 2 around. See what Lukas Dostal can do. He was a great goalie last year. He had a .921 save percentage in his first 22 games as a Duck. And, of course, we know what Parich can do. So I think we just go for it. And in goaltending-wise, Sjogard Coletta, which is fine. Silovs does have that better potential, but meh. We'll take out Christian Juice. We'll just go for Galvis, I guess. It doesn't really matter. And then forward-wise, I really should go out and try to find somebody. Try to find a couple of veterans. I guess that's the one thing we didn't do. See if there's anybody that we can sign quick and easy. Jordan Kyrou is still out there because he wants all of the money. Literally all of it. Every penny. Tom Kuhnhackl. Try to sign you up. Why not? We only have $9 million in space. And I say only. It's not that bad. Just going to restart us from the top. So Kuhnhackl, I don't know why they haven't fixed the way that scrolling works. It really is kind of annoying. Bo Bennett, Jack Dugan. There's a real limit on available players right now. Damn. Guess a lot of our depth options ended up signing elsewhere. This is awful. And it restarted me on Kuhnhackl. It just keeps bringing it back to the top of the list. It's the dumbest thing in the world. All right, well, we know Martin Ferk's available. Screw it, we'll do it that way. We know Michael Raffel is available as well. I don't remember Marco Dano yet. Marco is available. That brings us up to 48 contracts. Is there one more? Ostap Sefin will be available. Cool, we'll do it that way. That was much easier. When the easy way to do things isn't actually the easy way, I think that means it should probably be fixed. as Marchand signs on the goalie coach, and so did Bondra. Fantastic. So we got pretty much all of our top options. Let's set up the AHL, and then we'll get into simming this season. And hey, I mean, if this idea, backfires of running some of our younger options at the NHL level, we can always make moves, Can always make moves. So in terms of forwards then, really quickly, I just wanted to make sure. It's like Michael Grabner's in steady decline. Dimitra, though, is somebody that we do care about. So we want to make sure that we get him in the lineup. And he was the only one that ultimately went missing. So we'll bump he and McGinnis to the top line. Svitov as well. And we'll have the youth on that top line. Everybody else, it doesn't really matter. Let's see what happens this season, shall we? I don't really know what to expect. The entire series has been that theme of not really knowing what to expect. Because the hand we get dealt continually changes. For example, if we look ahead at the upcoming draft class, there's Jeremy Hodgson, there's Igor Nikitin, and Tristan Mayers, all in the top 10. There's also Manuel Fical, and Tyrone Cornet, and Geispers. There are 1,000 players. Ferguson, Dubinsky. There's 1,000 players we could end up drafting. Ron Lieb. So who knows? If we are terrible this season, then again, more changes could come. I don't think we'd look at blowing up the team or anything like that, but you talk about hey, what can we get for Tatar? What can we get for Zuccarello? And this, that, and the other. And yeah, there's just so many options. And unfortunately, so far this season, we've been garbage after doing so well to make the playoffs the last 2 years. But early days. Plenty of time to right the ship and turn things around. So, and there you go. We're back up over 500 already. No need to overreact. Season ends today. We're currently in a playoff spot. So, David Pastrnak has 35 points in 23 games. Nico Hischier with 31. Semyonov is the one actually lagging behind on that top line right now. God, he's only 20 though. But he has 13 goals in 23 games. Obviously, we'd want a little bit better from him. 15 points for Necas, 24 for Stützle, 21 for Hedl. The argument can be made, even though we're winning, what if we tried Tim Stützle on the top line and drop Semyonov down? Obviously, Semyonov is a legitimate first-line forward. We have a lot of those. Suter, 16 points, 9 for Hilbert, 11 for Glebov. Not that bad. And, we're not getting the most out of our veteran fourth line. Unfortunately, it's really a bit of a waste. But Bondra and Dodonov getting it done. Moritz Seider's been great. Ronick and Kempney still struggling. And it was actually Lucas Parich. It's been a little bit rough. Only an 838. Thank God for Dostal. We'll make those ever so slight changes. And we'll see what happens from here. And then again, we'll play it. Play the ball as it lies. The old rule in golf, right? So hey, we'll do what we gotta do. Let's just keep seeing what happens. I don't know what to tell you. Just be patient. 23-11-2, second best record in the division. Pasta has 51 points in 36 games. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. 46 points for Nico. 37 points, over a point per game pace for Stützle as well. Semyonov has woken up on that second line. Next to Philip Hedl, and now 20 points for Martin Necas. Suter on 22. You got Hilbert and Glebov. Honestly, we're going to try something. And then the fourth line, Zuccarello has 16 points, 15 assists. I want to try something here. And it's a bit of a risk, but let's try Martin Necas as our third-line center to really stack up the talent in the middle. And again, Suter's been damn good. We'll give him a chance there. Why would you make changes when you're winning? I mean, I made changes when we were winning last time, and we're still winning. Unfortunately, Pari has really sucked this season. Like a ton. There's just been a ton of suckitude from him, and he needs to figure it out in goal. And unfortunately, losing 4 in a row to start the month didn't really set off my changes in a positive light. But maybe, just maybe, possibly, potentially, will be okay. 30, 15, and 3. Deadline is at the end of the month. We are currently in a top 3 spot. Pasta is still crushing it. Let's take a look again here. Nico's looking good. Stützle is looking good. Semyonov has really enjoyed life on the second line. Suter didn't end up with a ton of points. It was, 11-11? So he had 9 points in the past month. Martin Necas hasn't really been dominating, unfortunately. Again, you could argue the benefit of Glebov and company. I mean, he's on about, a 35-point pace-ish. That's not bad. And Hilbert as well, not looking that bad either. What if? What if? I mean, it's... Oh, goodness. I think pretty much we all kind of know what's going to be coming with that fourth line and whether or not there's any trade value there. Or the question is we send down Hilbert and Glebov and try to pick up 2 better options. I think, honestly, that's what we have to try. We have to explore all options. Hopefully it doesn't weirdly stunt their development in any way to be sent down. But I don't feel great about it. I don't. Let's see what's out there. Mainly because I want to see what the value is of our vets. And Zuccarello has no value whatsoever. Tatar has no value whatsoever. No, Voracek doesn't even really have any value either. So there's no help coming because of any of them. Duly noted. Is there a big fish not named Tervo Teravainen? Verana won't really help. It's more of a lateral move to who we already have available on the team in terms of overall. Matt Savoy. I don't know what their obsession is with trying to trade him, but he was still out there. Trouba and Ellis, Butcher, Novikov is Russian. He was hoping he'd be Ukrainian. He's never going to develop, but that's pretty good trade value. Feniganov is available. 66, 18 years old. That's not too bad. Got Exelby. And Kulikov's also Russian. I mean, at 66 at 18 years old, it's nothing special, but we could probably get him from the Rangers. Jordan Kyrou, Krug Dunbarry. Riley's still out there. Looks like his development is maybe stunted a little bit. Yeah, I don't really think there's anybody out there to go and get. Things might change before the deadline. I just know, obviously, like we're not getting the most out of our bottom 6. Martin Necas, with 71 points last year, is really struggling this year. And it's a question as to why. Honestly, I want to put Hilbert on that higher up line, see what happens. We'll get Necas here with Suter and Glebov. We'll just try different things. The team keeps winning in the meantime. That's the most important thing. But I want to keep trying different things. I mean, dropping Semyonov down to the second line seemed like a crazy move. Turned out to be the right move. He's been fantastic on that second line, and not having to compete with David Pastrnak for goal scoring certainly helps out the look. As we are approaching 40 wins, we will not hit it before the deadline. 38, 20, and 4. Season ends today. We're still in a top 3 spot as Nico Hischier leads the club in points. 76 for Pasta. Of course, Nico looking great. Stützle's looking great. Semyonov bounces up to 42 goals next to Philip Hedl. Damian Hilbert benefited a little bit, but not a ton. Suter, not too bad. Natchez, not too bad. Glebov, not too bad. I mean, it really does feel like we're missing a really good top-line option. The fourth line, though, I mean, they've put up points. Defensively, they've been trash, but they have put up points, which is nice. But you could argue maybe is that production from them taking away from the production of the young players that we have. We're going to go to deadline day, and we're going to see if there's anybody out there. Sidney Crosby, Aho, Krug, Teravainen, Doughty, Werenski, Kyrou, Josh Hosang to an 86. Doesn't look like any of the big fish are players that we have any interest in or are even eligible to use. We will check one more time here. You got Bergfors, America Bebko is available. Ooh, 78 at 19 years old. Yes, please. And the Rangers did trade that Afinoganov player to the New York Islanders. Interesting. But this kid is significantly better and could certainly join like this combination of players that we have. Michael Kempny has been decent on the third pair. He hasn't been dominant or anything. Philip Hronek, I hate to say it, but he hasn't bounced back at all this season. So I don't really think there's any reason to keep him when we have other guys that we could call up. And then again, there's Tatar and Voracek. Tatar on 26 points. Voracek hasn't done that bad either. I don't want to get rid of anybody up above. Then there's Martin Fehervari who could get called up. Eric Chernak. We might as well see if we can add Christian Juice to this deal. They'd have too many skaters, unfortunately. I'd have to give up a decent bit to do this, but a second-round pick down the road, is that enough? Not that I want to get rid of Philip Hronek, but he's not happy here. Looks like I'm still going to have to add a little bit more, and that's when the goaltenders could come into play, maybe. How much value does Silovs have? He doesn't. It's going to have to be unsigned dudes. And looking at the value there, I mean, Kostitsyn, Fritzmeyer, Chimera, I suppose. That would go through. So let's do it. We pick up that defenseman Bebko from the Boston Bruins. We do move on from Philip Hronek, but he wasn't bouncing back. And now Bondra, Dadonov, Seider, Ledbedev. And then in the system, Kopitz is there. Bebko is there. That looks fantastic. I mean, they're not going to be the highest rated guys in the world, but that really does give us a strong foundation of young players to build around on the blue line. Question now, again, is there anybody else to get? Verana is still there on Carolina. If we wanted to send somebody down defensively on one of our forward lines, particularly from the fourth line, I'd say, or the third line. Tuzolino's not available. P-Spinnen's got to be finished. Yep. Howdy Zibanejad. Kempe. Tunney. Canadian Jan Mizak is available as well. Problem with he's a 72 at 22 years old. I feel like that puts him straight into like Dominic Bach territory. But we can remember that he's there on Montreal. Because we might not get anybody better. Then there was Novikov, but again, he was Russian. Exelby, Kulikov, because the other guy's now gone. You're Canadian, but Pronikarovsky is not, but he's trash. Travis Konechny, Crosby, of course, out there. Okay, so in terms of this, oh baby, Patrick Zucker is back on the market. That is some decent trade value if we could get it, but I don't think we could. God, if we could get that back for dirt cheap, that's as good as a high-value first-round pick. They also have Eric Riley back out there. We might have to try to pull off that deal with Tampa if I have the value to do it, but we are stretching ourselves pretty damn thin as it stands. But I'd love to get Zucker back, maybe even Riley. I just don't know how we do it. I don't. The only option I'm seeing is trading Pius Suter because he's good, but his value is never going to be higher unless that overall jumps. And to be honest, Martin Necas, we'd be selling low. We'd be selling real low for Necas, but he's struggled this season. Suter's on pace to hit the same point total he did last year. The question is, I guess, is Martin Necas going to bounce back at all? Be a pretty big hit, but we would get a valuable trade piece in a draft that looks really good coming up. And we'd get to make the most out of Pius Suter. Tampa would be over the cap. We could retain on the Suter deal since it's up next year. And we should be fine in terms of cap space. We'd have to retain a little bit on Necas as well. And I can't retain on Necas. I'm surprised Tampa would be over the cap, if I'm being honest with you. Is Crosby on the move to Calgary? No, he is not. Well, there's McDonough, and there is Andre Palat. Also potentially available. What if I wipe out the retention on Suter? I know this is a massively risky deal because Martin Necas could bounce back, and honestly, Pius Suter's not that bad either. But we need home runs in the draft, and this could be our opening to said home run. So really quickly, let's safety net this. Rejected. Take out the third. Unfortunately, have to take out the second. What about a third and a fourth? Rejected. Take out the fourth. It's the value of Riley, obviously, that's complicating things. I would presume. Gotta love these menus. I don't think they were looking to trade Palat, but add him back. Take out the fourth. Again, you can argue, is Riley worth it? Also, having Palat in there hurts because they don't want to get rid of him. But I'm really trying to snatch up as many young players as we can. Let's add in Christian Juice since I can't even use him. They reject that still. Is there anybody else? What about Durash and Taylor? I think we're going to have to take Riley out of the deal. But that's okay. I mean, I don't have, a ton of faith in him developing down the road anyway. Sweeten it just a touch. 2/4 might be enough. Shockingly. 2 fourth-round picks, is that enough? Martin Necas and Pius Suter will reacquire Zucker solely for the trade value. We also get back Riley and Andre Palat in the deal, but I'm going to do this. I know that is a massive risk, but I'm looking ahead towards that draft. And much like we did this year, use Zucker to go out and get a deal done for a first rounder to move up. I know it means there's going to be a pretty heavy reliance on guys like Tatar, Zuccarello, and Voracek now, but we might as well risk it. I don't see why not. I do think that means the any value we might have to go out, and as it is, he's gone. So let's see what the team looks like now. Risky moves continue. It's Charlie Coyle available on waivers. We will decline that. So looking at the team now, obviously people aren't happy about the trading away of Ronick. We'll send down Zucker. We'll send down Bebko. Neither are affected by waivers. That was the main thing I wanted to check. And we get to call up either Chernak, Kukin, Fehervari. Honestly, we're going to call up all three. And one of those three will have the opportunity to prove that they're worthy of being in this team full time. Because we want Bebko down in the minors. And honestly, I'm not even going to sign that other guy in Kopitz. And then forward-wise, it's 10, 11, and 12. Riley won't be on the team. But there is McGinnis. He has 45 assists in the AHL. Jesus. You could argue he might miss out on some key developmental time. But also, let me see what the team looks like with him on roster. So Chernak and Kukin, by default, are the ones that are missing. Andre Palat, still projected to be in. So, if we go with this, Semyonov, Hedel, and then McInnes represents a +3. Him with Hedel and Semyonov, he should do quite well. And then obviously, I mean, we have two guys that can play center there. So Tatar will have to be sent down. So we can have someone that can actually play center. I mean, it's power forward, two-way. If we send down the two-way in Hilbert, we can't get a better combination. And then again, we could send down Hilbert, McGinnis, and Gleboff, but I'm very intrigued at seeing what the team can do. Honestly, I think we stick with this. We're actually going to run Zuccarello at center. Let's go with that. And then again, Semyonov, he can be on that right-hand side. Stützle will swap. Defensively, we will give Martin Fehervari the chance. No, we won't. He does not work well with Kempney. Does Dean Kukin. We'll give Dean Kukin the opportunity. And then Dostal and Park, I mean, we need our goaltending to step up, but that has been a common request now over the past few seasons. Sjogard and Coletta looking okay. And then defensively, just make sure that there's no one on the outs, and there is. Let's get Zucker in there. We'll also take out Lucas Spiza for Bebko. He'll go straight to the top pairing, preferably with Zucker. So those two will get a good chance to actually get some playing time. Yegor Sharangovich will be out for Dimitra. Kuhn-Hockel can stay. Let's go with Svitov, Dimitra, and Riley now being up on that top line. Risky, risky, risky moves, but we're not thinking about just this season. We're thinking about the future as well. And maybe we are leveraging any potential success we could have this season by making the moves that we've made. But also on the flip side, I mean, having a great roster doesn't guarantee you playoff success, as we are well aware of from all of our different series over the years. Why not think of the future and think of the now? And right now, we are currently back in the playoffs, and we have a chance at the number 1 seed because Nico Hischier has 105 points on the year, which is crazy. McInnes has 8 points in 14 games. As Hilbert up to 28 points. Gleboff not doing so hot. Again, you could argue whether or not we want to send down the youngsters, maybe for the playoffs. Defensively, Kukin and Kempney have been inoffensive. Dostal up to a 901. I mean, the goaltending has still been abysmal. I think, though, again, like if you want to argue, send down McInnes, Hilbert, and Gleboff for the AHL playoffs, and then hopefully let them tear the AHL to shreds because they are the number 1 seed right now. Let the young guys play in the AHL playoffs and get that experience. I wouldn't disagree with that. But we are potentially on our way here as we keep winning games. We do beat Philadelphia. We're 2 points above Toronto. The Maple Leafs have tied us, but we have a game at hand. We do lose to Anaheim, so there goes that advantage. We play Boston. We win. And if we win this last game against Washington, we're the number 1 seed. We lost, but we still take the number 1 seed on tiebreaker over the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is our first ever division title. Despite trading away Hurdle and Meyer and Natchez and so many others, 50-win season in the books. The top team in the Atlantic, the fourth, or at least tied for the 4th highest point total, of course, with Toronto on 107 points. Certainly didn't expect that at the start of the year when we struggled. We have the best offense in the league. Our goals against average is mid-table. Our power play percentage, best in the league, and it's not even close. And our penalty kill percentage is at 80%, which again is mid-table. So we have a fantastic offense. The defense is, or the goaltending really is a little bit spotty. But Nico and Pasternak were fantastic. Stützle fantastic. Semyonov hit 48 goals. Whew. 63 points for Hedel. Andre Palat finished with 43. He had 6 points in 20 games. He might be cooked, especially in the role that we were using him in. Tatar, though, 38 points in the bottom 6 with power play time. Voracek with 36 points. Zuccarello with 34. But again, defensively, absolute trash for the veterans. Hilbert with 32 points as a rookie. 25 for Glebov. And then McInnes had 10 points in 20 games. So I do think there is a decent shout to dropping these guys down to the AHL and calling up some veterans. Although you look like Riley Svitov did very well, but so did Dimitra. But you talk about the more defensively responsible, or you could go with like Marco Dano, Nosek, Raffel, Kampfer there. These guys would be defensively responsible, pretty physical. We have options, certainly, for what this team could be for the forwards. And then defensively, the acquisition of Michael Bondra is really what led to this team being how good they are. He had 83 points as a defenseman. His defensive partner in Artem Dadnov only had 22. 29 of his points came on the power play. Insane. Absolutely insane. And then Dean Kukin only had 3 points in 20 games, but he was a +7. So not bad for the third pairing option. In goal, I don't know how Lukas Dostal has that record when he has a .903 save percentage, but we'll probably give him a shot. Worst case scenario, we know that Pari can be a little bit voodoo in the playoffs, I think is the best way to sum it up. As Nico Hischier led the NHL in scoring, Pasternak was second. Goal-scoring king was McKinnon. Semyonov scored more goals than Connor McDavid and Alex Ovechkin this season. When it comes to defense, Bondra likely just won the Norris over Quinn Hughes, which is fantastic. And for goaltenders, the winningest was Korpisalo. Dostal was one of 4 goalies to win 40 games this year. Anything really over a 9-10 could be deemed as pretty damn good. So it just goes to show if our goaltending could sort itself out, that would be great. Looks like Nashville had a pair of very, very good rookies. So in the first round of the playoffs, it looks like we'd be taking on Florida, I would presume. Again. Is it the case? Indeed. We cannot escape the Florida Panthers. We'll be playing them in round number 1. The question now, though, what do we do with this forward core? Do we just leave the young guys and say, screw it, they're already here? Or do we just let them kind of dominate the AHL, presumably? And, of course, if we get eliminated at the NHL level, then we can send them down. But I don't know. Again, this team could be... This team could have a little bit of voodoo surrounding it because we probably shouldn't do well. But, Zook, Voracek, Tatar. We have some veteran presence. Of course, Palat, too. Good questions. Good questions to ask. But we're also winning, as stupid as that is. So we'll see what happens, I guess, in the next one.